ask the question, does the world still need Superman? The answer is yes.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we're going through a mighty thin stack for a mighty big superhero, and that is not the one on my chest. We're talking about his arch rival, Superman. Today is a very intense day for the DC fandom. Can James Gunn pull it off? We'll find out. But today, we're going through the history of Superman games. Look, I consider myself a superhero game connoisseur. From Captain America, to Iron Man, to Batman, we've played all of them, and especially Spider-Man here. But we've never really dabbled in Superman, and that may be thanks to channels like The Angry Video Game Nerd warding me off of this one for my entire life until like this week. And there's also reasons like, hey, I've never been the biggest Superman fan. Haven't watched many of the movies, never cared about the comics. He's never really been a compelling hero to me, even if I respect him as like the OG. Nonetheless, very excited for the movie, and also excited to talk about these games because y'all, this stack is mid. I cannot wait to go through it all with you. If you're new here and you're into nostalgic and retrospective content, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. Now let's go through the very bad Superman video games. It begins with this one. Like I said, Superman 64 is a game I remember watching on YouTube, Angry Video Game Nerd, losing his mind over it, and it was then I decided I will never play this game. Had no reason to, had no interest, was never a big Superman guy, and obviously for this video, I felt, well, this is the most iconic Superman game for all the worst reasons. I'm gonna give it a rip after not watching any videos on it for at least over a decade and see what gives here. And oh my God, I mean, I'm sure it's impossible to give you a really original take on this game. What hasn't been said about this one? But oh my God, it really is terrible. One of the worst games ever. And when you read about the development history of this one, how there was a lot of meddling with the license and they had much more plans for the game, but they all got shelved because they kept changing what the game would be and they didn't want Superman punching humans for whatever reason. So therefore, this game just became racing through rings and lifting things. Those are the two key mechanics. And these are the games that I consider very sobering reminders. When I see the doomers, the gloomers out there who are like, man, gaming is awful, I'm like, this type of slop is incredibly rare. I mean, this is just like not even recoup asset slop. This is just, hey, we got Superman on the cover, throw it out there, let's see what happens. Like the early 90s, the early 2000s, very much a Wild West time for gaming. You get some really good, crazy experiments, but you'd also get games that they're just like, screw it, man, throw it out there. Like, let's see what happens. And Superman 64 is that. It controls horribly. There's punching mechanics, and you don't even throw punches in the game. I got through 20 minutes of this, like full transparency. That's all I could really do before I just tapped out. And I know that sounds a little extreme. Most games can get more than 20 minutes out of me, but it's just so funny to me that the most iconic Superman game, at least in my opinion, the most iconic Superman game has literally nothing to do with the guy. Like when I think of Superman, I don't think of him flying through rings and lifting cars. But dude, just like you look at generational N64 games like Ocarina of Time, and then you look at Superman 64, like the detail and the world and how beautiful it is in Ocarina of Time, and then you look at the worst of the worst in Superman 64, it is an unbelievable difference that these two exist on the same hardware. But nonetheless, I don't know if there's anything else I can add here. The voice acting, horrendous. Controls, horrendous. I could barely get through it, and it really has lived up to the title of one of the worst games of all time. But hey, you start from the bottom, you work your way up. Now, while the stack of Superman games are thin, the rest of them I didn't really have any expectations for. I knew I was going to go into Superman 64 and not really come out of it being like, actually, I have a novel takeaway. It's much better than I thought. I knew that wasn't going to be the case here. So one of the games I picked up many years ago was this one here, Superman Shadow of Apocalypse. That's how little Superman I know. I had to read the spine mid-video. It is inspired by the animated Superman series, and that is already a plus. Like, the game looks pretty good for its time. You go through like 14 levels, and it's a pretty simple beat 'em up. It is a little bit more robust, I guess, compared to 64. That's not saying much. You're not just flying through rings, but you can lift things, you can punch things, you can use all different types of visions from X-ray to like your heat vision and use them against enemies in, I guess, interesting ways. But it's so interesting to see they looked at clearly N64 and Superman and said, okay, we don't want to do just flying, so this game just does a lot of beat 'em up stuff. Beat 'em ups and rescue missions. It's very much like Spider-Man on the PS2, except without any of the charm. Like, Spider-Man on PS2, you kind of do the same things. Like, very simple combo system. Very simple, like, just getting around linear environments. And then, even in, like, the subway station mission in that original Raimi Spider-Man game, like, you're just saving civilians. But there's just a different feel and mark of quality in that game compared to what you get in Apocalypse. It's not awful. It's just kind of uninspired, and that's what I found throughout the whole stack of Superman games, man. Like, all of these are just really bland and don't capture Superman, and I think part of it is technology, as we'll get into with our final Superman game, but part of it is also just like, this guy is tough to make a game around because he is invincible, so my brain's always like, why are these things even damaging me at all? Like, Superman is that dude. Like, none of this should bug him at all. Like, part of what makes him interesting, I think, of stories that have captured him really well, such as the Injustice video games, are because Superman is a godlike figure, especially the first Injustice game. That story was awesome. I'll always think back to when Superman covered a dude's mouth and just fried his brains and killed him right there. That was legitimately one of the coolest comic book cutscenes in a video game I've ever seen, and solidified Superman as like this god tier figure that if he goes evil, if he goes rogue, it plays with some really interesting material. To me, that's where Superman lies in his most exciting. And not even just because, oh, I've experienced the hero story so many times, give me the villain. But yeah, just like when you're watching him get beat up by robots and whatnot, it's just a little corny. Or like his key move in this game is just like rotating really fast and shooting out lasers. It's just kind of insane. I don't know, but it looks better. And for a kid's game, you know, I would say it's all right. But again, as someone who's covered so many of these, from like Batman Vengeance to Rise of Sin Tzu to the Spider-Man games to Captain America, like, I'm just looking at it thinking, yeah, I guess it's for kids. But as a kid, I played better games that were meant for kids and adults. I don't know. It's all right. So this next one is why I love the original Xbox. Like, they just had random exclusives. I talked about this in our Yu-Gi-Oh! Games retrospective, how Yu-Gi-Oh! Had a random Xbox exclusive, and Xbox just at that time was going out handing people bags and saying like, hey, you have a popular IP, please make it for our system, because PS2 was doing the same thing, GameCube was doing the same thing, and famously I always go to the Naruto example of how like Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo all had their own version of Naruto fighters at one point in time during like the 360 days. But one thing that Xbox pony up for, and I had no idea about as well until I started researching for this video, was Superman Man of Steel. Yep, remember what I said in our OG Xbox video? When I see this stamp, I go, okay, you're probably a little bit more legit than the others. And I'm pleased to say that out of the entire stack of games here, I do think Superman Man of Steel is actually the best one. It's not saying too much, but it does capture a lot of things in the early 2000s that I think made Superman great and exciting in video game format. The levels are wide open and expansive, where it really feels like, especially for its time, you're flying around a lot, and these levels are so big where it's not open world, but close enough. Again, for the time, you have to look at it through that lens. Today's standards, a little bit different. But also, this is the most comic booky. Its art style has lent itself really well to that, where I feel like if this game really did get brushed up, it'd look quite nice. I mean, the back of the boxes I'll show you in a little bit says all that needs to be said. It's very much like comic book panel type energy. But I am sad to say that compared to other games of that only on Xbox stamp, this one isn't of that mark of quality, but in my opinion, out of everything in this stack, it definitely is the best one. It just has better enemy design, for example. Like when you lock onto enemies, depending on what color it is, you're gonna use a different vision, basically. His freeze breath or his heat vision, whatever it may be, or just raw strength and beating them down. You're just fighting these Brainiac robots, targeting those weaknesses and just flying around a lot. The flying controls actually feel pretty good. The speed of flying around also feels pretty good, which I felt like Shadow of Apocalypse really didn't capture well. So the speed, strength, and like diversity of enemies are captured really well in this game. Again, all of these games compared to the other superhero titles I've played aren't super impressive, but at least Man of Steel does enough where I wouldn't hate it if you went and picked this one up. It also is great that all of these games are pretty cheap. But while this game does a lot right, the one thing I can't defend is the voice acting. How about you just listen to it? Lois Lane, Clark Kent having a little chat to open the game.
And my husband saves the day yet again. You know, Smallville, there's something amusing about being married to a guy who can see through a brick wall and change the course of mighty rivers, not to mention fly, yet still likes to walk to work.
That's just the farm boy in me. You know, if the rocket ship that brought me to Earth as a baby hadn't landed in Kansas,
You'd still have incredible abilities far beyond that of mortal men. But I'd be calling you Bronx instead of Smallville.
I was thinking Addis Ababa.
Tegucigalpa.
Whoa!
This is like early voice acting 101. I mean, it's to me just that level of two people not in the booth at the same time, just recording lines with no emotional context. Just, hey, whatever sounds good to you, yep, it sounds good to me. Cool, put it in the game. That type of just like voice actor, I have 1 credit on my IMDb profile type performance energy here. Pretty hilarious, but nonetheless, otherwise, I think this game is perfectly fine. All right, it's time for the big one. Superman Returns. I remember being at a friend's house, seeing this game for the first time. He was playing it on his Xbox 360 on the big TV, and I remember watching the action, the animation. I just thought this game looked so cool. I was really young at the time. I have to say, the way this game opens up is really awesome. There's this apocalyptic event, and you're just fighting back, shooting asteroids out of the sky. You're flying at lightning speed. You can literally fly so fast and put your fist out that you can punch through things. Really cool sense of speed and power here. Superman Returns is actually a pretty solid game, all things considered, given its reviews. It was one of those games I found to be a little bit better than what people were saying. Where it really struggles is when it does the thing that technology has forced it to do, which is just go narrow. A lot of these superhero games for these older bits of hardware could only push said hardware so far. And especially in the case of Superman, it's tough to capture him, just like I think it was tough to capture someone like Flash. I think there's a reason there's never been a Flash video game, because you need to convey that sense of speed and getting across the world really fast, but technology has to be there to allow you to do that, for the levels to load in time and to not just break the whole game. Same goes for Superman. So this game, I feel, tries to push the edges of Superman game technology, because you do go fast. You get where you need to go real quick. You feel powerful. It sounds really good, especially. That adds so much to it. You can like hear the cape rippling in the wind as you just barrel toward your enemies. But when it goes linear, because of like technological constraints, that's where it just feels bad. Like, I don't want to be in tiny boss arenas running around on my feet as Superman. Like, I don't mind if they narrow the gap, but this could have been so much better in my regard if they just did a little bit more with it, kept it more open. So it's got its moments, it's got its bright spots, but it really is just a game that feels like a tie-in video game in the worst sense. Like, takes away the energy of the hero, and it does the kind of rogues gallery, as all these tie-in games do, and kind of leaves you with that 6 out of 10, hey, could have spent my time in a worse place, could have spent my time in a better place type of energy. And ultimately, it falls in the same bin that I think really all these games kind of do, of like, yeah, it's outside of Superman 64, okay, I guess. And I feel like nostalgia might have helped a lot, but I don't know, because I look at games like Batman Vengeance, such atmosphere. I mean, bringing in like actors from the Batman animated series just made it feel like a whole movie. The production quality of that game, like, they creeped me out as a kid. I thought that game was great, but also, I mean, you see what's on my chest. I am a bigger Batman fan than I am a Superman fan. Is that playing a factor? I wonder sometimes, but I don't know. I think about even when I jump into like Captain America and its video game, which we'll talk about at some point in time. Like, that's a game that I look at and go, yeah, like, it's not great, but it's got enough cool ideas where I kind of get down with it. But I also am not like a die-hard Captain America fan, know a lot about him like I say I would with Batman. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, that's every Superman game. I am looking forward to getting your thoughts. Do you have a favorite one? Down below. Fire away. Let me know. I thought about including Injustice, but that's kind of like everyone in DC, and I feel like since Injustice 3 is inevitable, we'll talk about those games a separate time. But what about this stack here? Do you have any? And if you say 64, we're going to have problems. But do you have any that you like? Let me know. Other than that, I'll catch you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.